the US. I want to jump on and address a couple things that I've noticed recently on YouTube videos and people who are posting regarding the short-term rental rules and regulations. Obviously, it's a very important thing to know before you are buying a short-term rental in a specific area. I've seen a few videos with people who have some influence in the short-term rental community, who post a lot, who get a lot of likes, get a lot of comments. And some of the things that they're putting out there with regard to finding out what the regulations are or whether you can short-term rent, in my opinion, are not very good ways of figuring out if you're okay to rent in a certain area. One of those ways is that they've put out there is looking on Airbnb and seeing if other people are renting in those areas. Just because other people are renting their properties short-term through Airbnb in a specific area doesn't mean that it's legal. Doesn't mean that they are doing it correctly. They could be renting in that area and thinking, you know what, I know that I can't, but if I get caught, I'll just pay the fine or I'll take it down. Or they could be renting through Airbnb in that area even though they can't, not knowing that they can't. Ultimately, you've seen in a lot of cities like New Orleans, for example, where they're really cracking down on short-term rentals that are listed illegally. So just because other people are having or have their short-term rentals listed on Airbnb or VRBO doesn't mean that they are allowed to do so and doesn't mean that you would be allowed to do so. The second thing I've seen people put out there is to look at Airbnb and VRBO and see if they are collecting taxes on behalf of that city and have an agreement with that area or that city to pay that city taxes on behalf of a host. Again, this isn't a great way, in my opinion. There are many rules and restrictions in specific cities that apply to either zoning or areas where it's okay to rent short-term in one area, but not okay in, for example, residential areas. There are also a lot of cities like Orlando, Florida, where renting a portion of your house is okay. Like it's called a home share, where you are the primary resident and you're renting a portion of your house. That's okay, but renting your house short-term for good when you're not in the house, when it's not your primary residence, is not okay. So just because Airbnb or VRBO are collecting taxes and paying a specific city on a host behalf doesn't mean that the type of short-term rental that you're looking to get into is legal in that city. The best way to find short-term rental rules and regulations in a specific city, town, or county is to go to shortrule.com. On ShortRule, we list whether you can rent short-term in that area, whether there are restrictions, i.e. zoning, a cap on the amount of nights that you can rent, or minimum nights you can rent. For example, in Tampa, 7 days is your minimum. It shows you what the registration process is, if you need to register, if you need a permit, a license, and what you have to do to get those licenses and permits. The best way, again, to find short-term rental rules and restrictions for your city, area, town is to go to shortrule.com.